So on the left side, this is Kussak Formation. If you make a thin section, so it's micaceous glauconitic sandstone. And glauconite is a mineral which indicate the marine environment, and you also have some trilobite fossils in that. So it's a typical shelf-fill conditions in which this Kussak Formation is deposited. And if you look at the beds, the beds are massive because of the bioturbation caused by these bivalves and brachiopods. And I've told you that the organism bioturbate because they want to make burrows for shelter purpose. They want to eat the sediments because they are deposit feeders, and they want to avoid the predators. So because of that, extensive bioturbations, and there are extensive trace fossils, a variety of echinophases, and nobody has reported it. It's a kind of museum for the echinophases of the Cambrian age, and nobody has scientifically worked on these echinophases. So this rock unit is sandstone, glauconitic, micaceous, with some shales, and at the interface between Kevda and Kussak, you have a minor conglomeratic bed. That conglomerate bed is not associated with the sea level fall. That is associated with the sea level rise, because that was a delta, and that is the first time where the whole area was covered under ocean, right? The whole area was converted into a shelf. Okay? So when the sea level is rising, for example, if it is covering that delta, so there will be huge waves in current activity, and that waves in current activity will erode the underlying bed, right? So that erosion associated with the sea level rise is called rewinement surface, and that is the indication of the transgressive surface. So the sea level start rising from the salt range formation, and then you have the delta plane, and then you have the delta front further deepening, and now the delta front is covered by shelf. So that's a maximum rise, because on top of that you have dolomite of Jotana, and you have two kind of dolomite, primary and secondary. Primary dolomite forms on the tidal flats, right? And the secondary dolomite is initially a limestone which forms on the shelf, and later on during diagenesis it converts into dolomite. So that dolomite is primary dolomite. So it deposited on the shelf because you have piezovoids, which is indication of the tidal plates. You have algal lamination, which is indication of the tidal plates, and you have the fenestral fabric, which is the indication of the tidal plates. And you have further various features which all indicate that it was tidal plate, and these dolomites were deposited on top of that. So you have the salt range formation, then the sea level start rising, you have delta plane in the lower part of the Kevda, you have the delta front, and then you have the shelf, right? But now that shelf is again converted into tidal plates. Tidal plate is a marginal marine environment, shelf is a pure marine environment. So is it representing a sea level fall or rise? Fall. So that means that the Kussak Formation, the interface between the Kussak and Jotana, that's the maximum flooding surface, and from there the sea level start falling. And then you have on top of dolomite, you have the Bagawala, which represent further sea level fall, and then that sea level fall, then you have the exposure, because you have the continental environment established on top of the Bagawala. ठीक है, तोबरा formation इसके ऊपर है ना, तो Bagawala marginal marine है और तोबरा आपके पास continental है. So that boundary is a sequence boundary. ठीक है, तो maximum flooding surface Kussak formation, जिसके ऊपर जोटाना डोलोमाइट, फिर बागावाला. ये जोटाना और बागावाला दोनों रिग्रेसिव सिस्टम ट्रैक में जो है वो डिपॉजिट है, और उसके ऊपर आपके पास जो है फर्स्ट सीक्वेंस बाउंड्री है अपर इंडस बेसिन की. तो यही सर आपको फर्दर जो है